If you're a parent in Ontario, you already know schools in many parts of the province are closed. 55,000 education workers have begun an illegal strike, and hundreds of thousands of children are at home. These are some of the latest images from Windsor. Education workers are picketing and could stay off the job indefinitely. Bill 28 invokes the notwithstanding clause. It bans today's strike action and imposes a contract on workers. It's been heavily criticized. The opposition, unions, and civil rights advocates say it's heavy-handed. It's a heavy-handed attack. CUPE, the union representing the workers, says it won't back down. It's prepared to strike until further notice. And the CBC's Megan Fitzpatrick is at the Ontario Legislature in Queen's Park. She has more on the events leading to this strike and how Bill 28 makes this action illegal.
There are hundreds of workers out here this morning carrying signs with slogans like "Hands off workers' rights." They believe that the Doug Ford government is trampling on their constitutional right to strike and to collective bargaining. Bill 28 came about very quickly, introduced by the Ford government on Monday, after this union, CUPE, gave notice on Sunday of a 5-day notice of a possible strike action for today if a settlement wasn't reached at the bargaining table. And it wasn't. And so both sides proceeding with their plans. The Ford government quickly passing Bill 28 last night, which does impose a contract on these workers instead of negotiating one at the bargaining table. It also prohibits strikes from happening for the duration of this contract, and it does invoke the notwithstanding clause to shield Bill 28 from legal challenges. And so the union, they say they're out here anyway, despite Bill 28 making this strike illegal. I spoke to the head of CUPE Ontario just a few minutes ago. Here's some of what he's saying about what's happening here today.
I'm feeling enormously buoyed up. Having walked a little bit through this crowd, having talked to our members who are the real heroes here, who have decided that they are going to stand up for themselves, for the important work they do in our schools every day, and also for their constitutional rights, which were stripped from them by a government that used the nuclear option, that set aside not just the Constitution, but the Human Rights Code, the Labor Relations Act. These, as you can see, look around you, mainly women workers, whose average wage is $39,000 a year. They have decided to stand up and to fight back, and I couldn't be more proud to be in the same union with all of them.
And wages is one of the key issues that they are fighting over, the two sides. And basically both sides saying the other isn't budging on that issue. These workers saying their wages have been frozen or restricted for over a decade, that they deserve the raise they're asking for to catch up, essentially. And as they have been telling me, that the schools can't function without them, and they deserve these higher wages. Now, today's strike and the legislation that passed last night means hefty fines could be imposed on these workers that you see walking behind me, up to $4,000 per worker per day. The union is saying that if the Ford government proceeds with imposing these fines, they'll deal with it. They're seeking legal advice on how to fight those fines. The union itself could also face a hefty fine of up to $500,000 a day. Education Minister Stephen Lecce saying they had no choice, is the phrase he's using, but to proceed with this legislation to impose a contract on these workers and to prohibit these strikes. He's saying kids have been through enough throughout the pandemic, missing class, losing learning, and that they will not tolerate a strike for even one day is the government's position. But we are seeing a strike, obviously. And so the next question for the government is, what do they do next? We do know the government's already filed an application with the Ontario Labour Relations Board. They did that last night. There will be a hearing today. That's essentially to have the Labour Board declare this an illegal strike. And it is through that board that's sort of a mechanism for them to proceed with imposing any fines. We also have a statement from the minister this morning. He says nothing matters more right now than getting all the students back in the classroom, and we'll use every tool available to us to do so. So that's the latest from the government's position. We'll see what else happens today. These workers saying they are willing to stay on strike as long as it takes. They're not intending this to be a one-day strike, and they have warned parents to prepare for an extended strike.
The CBC's Megan Fitzpatrick in Toronto.